August 1st, coaching Kreuz, hot as balls out there, Kreuz. And you just came off of your trip to Mexico, and you come home, and it's going to be hotter. I think it's a right of rule every year that when football practice starts for high schools, and you're actually on the field during like after school, because school's also starting at 3 o'clock or whatever you're practicing, that it's got to be 100 million degrees. That's just because, last week it's like mid 80s, and Murphy's Law, football starts in high school and it's friggin' hotter than Hades. So tell us a little about your trip.
Yeah, we flew out last Saturday morning. Everybody always complains like, oh, my flight's so early. Well, I kind of like it. We had the option of flying out from SFO, which is about an hour and a half from us. There's 2 direct flights. One's at 7 a.m., one's at 10 a.m. Of course, if you get there, the earlier you get there, and we can early check in and all that, you can use the pool and the food and the drink and all that stuff.
Get right
So
to it.
I'd rather get there as early as possible. We left here at 3:30 in the morning, but like when you're on your way to vacation, why do you care how early you have to get up to get to have fun?
Right.
And so we got there, yeah, to say it was a little bit warm there, and we go this time every year right before school starts because that's the reason why we go. I would never want to be in Mexico and something were to happen to Logan or something like that. So we go this time every year, and it's around the heat index and stuff. But it seemed like the every day as we were there, when you check the weather app, which I check daily, the Weather Channel app, it just seemed to get hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter, and there's really nowhere to hide. Unfortunately, I wish they would come. We were talking about this with my buddy Martin yesterday. Like they can make pools warmer, right? You could put heaters in pools. Why
Right.
can't they make pools colder?
Yeah,
Like
feel like down there the pools are always like a
so,
spa temperature.
and I wear an Apple Watch. So and it has the function where like when you're in the water, it'll tell you like the depth of it, and it'll also tell you the how hot it is or how cold it is.
Right.
And so you get in the water, and when you're coming from a place where it's like 95 degrees with a heat index of 105, they have shade and stuff like that. But when it's humid like that, you just can't really hide from it. And then you get in the water, and we're all trying to guesstimate like how warm this pool is. Well, the whole time it's there, it's around like 90, 91 degrees in the
That's,
pool. And so if all you want is like a 75-degree pool
yeah.
where you can like cool off, it semi helps you to be in the water because, being outside the water, just with the
Right.
humidity, it just kind of eats you alive. Um, so, yeah, it was warm. We played around golf at the golf course there. It's called Porto Los Cabos. As we know, we've talked about many times in the pod how much of a golfer I am, and we got to about the 10th hole, and I'm doing the countdown. We teed off at 7, so as early as we possibly could. But man, once the sun comes up and it's blue, it was a blue sky day that day. The course is phenomenal, very very nice course, but we're going through the tunnels, and I'm wanting to stop, and I'm like, dude, there's these they call them palapas, these little stations along your way. You pass them twice on each side, and they have tacos there, they have beers there, they have snacks there, water. And the guy's like asking us if we want to eat. I'm like, I can't even eat if I tried. Like, give me a water, give me a beer, and then we need to get moving because like the air at least
Yeah.
feels a lot better than just sitting there. So, great trip. We got back late Thursday night, and then right back to work I went yesterday.
There you go. Life happens. Yeah. So on my end, it's a super long story. I'm gonna try and make it like 30 seconds. But we've lived in our house since November, and we filled our propane tank 4 times.
Oof.
Filled it. Finally called the place to tell them, like, ask them, like, is this normal? Check the old records from the previous owners. Can you see?
Sure.
And
Do we have a leak somewhere?
well, 2 days later, not the owner, but the manager of the place called. And he's like, I'm coming to your house. And I'm like, something's up.
Hmm.
It's a super long story, but basically, he told me a couple days ago that there's been a leak that I
Hmm.
smelled that I didn't realize. I guess I'm dumb. You smell gas, there's a leak. Period. It doesn't matter how
Yeah.
much like strong it is. Dude told me that the leak is was here before we bought the house. How about them apples?
Shouldn't
And
they have? Shouldn't they have like
I, I have to. I
inspect
talked
that?
to my realtor a little bit. I don't know if we were working on like potential for like we have a home warranty.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't. We'll see because it's gonna have a happy ending because of a couple things. One, the trench was dug by a former football player and now friend, the friend of the family. He dug the trench and we were basically almost fist fighting because he wouldn't take payment for digging the trench. It's like 100-foot long trench. So I'm gonna take care. He golfs in the golf tournament, so I'm gonna take care of his rounds and that kind of stuff. And since they basically admitted their mistakes, the propane company is gonna pay for the late all the work that needs to be done like Tuesday to fix it, and they gave us a temporary tank and stuff. But man, I mean, again, I'm leaving out
A ton of
tons of
those.
stuff that
Yeah.
happened
Yeah.
in that time, but that's basically been my week. And then we start school next week, and I'm like, do I have to be here? For all this stuff, and they're like, nope. I'm like, good, because
I can't.
I can't. I mean, basically Monday I become a ghost. So with football starting and whatever. So let's get into this thing because besides our stuff, right? You got Niners wide receiver room getting extremely. If you just look at the names on that list now, knock on wood, right? Everybody stays healthy. The Debo thing and just who's there now. I mean, let me ask you this: is Debo an upgrade from Pearsall?
Yeah, I think the answer is yes. He seems a lot more available. I worry about. I don't know if I'm over worrying. Uh, he seemed to have like lost a step the last year. I don't know if he gained weight or I don't. I don't. I, he don't.
That was a thing. Now on that note, right? I was watching a vlog yesterday talking about the Niners yak yards. How
Mhm.
a couple seasons ago they were number one or top five or whatever because for years they've been really good at that. And then Debo leaves and they were like 19th or something. And I think it's not necessarily Debo leaving. I think that they had all those injuries and they were basically relying on a running back to get all their yards who's not going to have a ton of yak because, you know,
Mhm.
not if you're relying on him to carry your team basically. So it's and a guy like Jennings wasn't a yak guy.
No.
He was more of a
A
possession guy and
possession.
big
Yeah.
play guy, whatever. Very valuable, obviously, but so I don't know about that, but I think it does tie into what you're saying because the reason the Niners got rid of him is because he kind of diminished a little bit. He wasn't, the great seasons he had. But I'm curious, right? He seemed like a contract guy. Like that year he went crazy. It was a contract year, and the next year he was kind of not even close. So I'm curious if he comes back with like a chip on his shoulder. I'll show you. Supposedly, I've heard again. I know nothing. I haven't seen anything, but he's in good shape, but not great. Like he's still a little bit heavy for his size. But
Yeah, but
again,
even then, him being in the open field, even if he's lost a step, his ability to get away from people, and they were showing because now that we've signed him, they were showing some of his good years where he was like running away from people in the open field and like being able to evade tackles and stuff like that. If he can even be like 75% of that guy with the other guys that we have, I still think he's a big upgrade from what we've had. You talk about the yards after catch and the ability to do stuff in the open field. I think it takes a lot of pressure off of McCaffrey to be able to be that possession guy all the time. And they were saying that McCaffrey, because I felt like McCaffrey, I think we've talked about this in the past. He had a great year last year, but he wasn't like really running away from people anymore.
Oh, for sure.
But they said this year it seemed like he gained a step back.
Huh.
Also, I think importantly, if we can get a secondary running back, I thought Robinson was good for us last year, but the rookie Black that we just got, they were saying that like he's the fastest guy on the field when he has the ball in the open field. So if he can help us out in some situations where we can get McCaffrey off the field and not have him get the 30 touch games all the time, I think that with a combination of those things and the stribbling, they're saying from camp, apparently Sterling, the guy we drafted from Ole Miss, is going to be a guy. So I think you can sort of hide the non-existence of Pearsall on the field with those two things. And if we can do that, I don't think it really hurts us. I think it kind of helps us long term.
Well, I feel like we mean, I don't know. This is kind of a vanity thing over the years. Like our receiving core has been some guys that could play. Obviously, they're NFL talent, but like we have named dudes in the wide receiver room.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have Mike Evans, like dude's a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? Like Kirk.
Christian Kirk is no Christian Kirk is no slouch, dude. When he's
No,
on the
I
field,
know, but that's
he's
what
a
I'm
dude. But
saying.
can he? Yeah, yeah,
I know he's hurt and whatever. Everyone's got their thing, but just if you wrote them down on paper, you write the Niners skill guys down on paper, all of them.
yeah.
McCaffrey, Purdy, Kittle, but you go, I'm like, and I think there's part of it, and we've talked about this before. Is our guys going to be okay? It's going to be tough to get them all touches,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or the touches that they potentially want or need. McCaffrey needed to touch it a lot last year and stayed healthy. Obviously, you want to lighten that, but I feel like the Niners are and I haven't done fantasy football in a long time, but I think they're a tough fantasy team offensively because fantasy, I want a guy like McCaffrey who touched it all that, but with so many guys, they might be prolific offensively and score a ton of points, but it's going to be, is a
Yeah,
guy going to
you're not
have
going
a
to have
10
like the
catch, 3 touchdown
like the
game?
Jameer Gibbs who gets 18 touchdowns. We're probably going to have a bunch of guys that have 6 to 10 touchdowns.
Right.
And so from
That
a
kind of
fantasy
stuff.
perspective, yeah, and I think that I mean from a fantasy perspective, who cares as a unit with our non-youth, I think that sort of helps us because it allows us to guys are going to need to take plays off. You're having
Oh, for
Kittle
sure.
Kittle coming off a major injury. And Mike Evans got hurt last year at the end of his year, and he hasn't been hurt in his whole career. Um, if that's why I thought it's so important if we can get a secondary running back that we can keep on the field and sort of limit the weight that we can take off of McCaffrey's shoulders at times. And granted, we're going to need him. When you always see it like. I think I've seen it a few times last year where like McCaffrey went off the field on third down and they sent him back on the field because he's
Yeah.
getting the
And
ball.
his shoulders are going up and down
Yeah,
because he's
yeah,
popping.
right. So I think collectively as a unit, we are so much better. Now, can we stay healthy? That's the key to all this. I was watching the Derek Carr and his brother have a podcast, and they were talking about the power plant shit, and
Oh,
they're
yeah.
like, they won't even let you like on the left side of that practice facility. They're like, have you seen a bird over there? They're like, nope. They're like, have you seen a bug over there? Like, nope. Like, don't tell me that's not a thing because that's a thing. Now, I don't know how much of a thing it is, but looking
Or
at
maybe
our looking at her history, you have to start thinking about it at
I
least.
think Shanahan's accident was in like Palo Alto, but I immediately thought, what happened if it was like right outside the
Yeah,
facility?
can you imagine? That would be incredible, dude.
I mean, uh, anyway, yeah. So, was it last week? The running back gets hurt, Pearsall's knee.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
Well, they were saying
I've
that I feel terrible, but like the Pearsall thing is now becoming a thing. They said they make because they redid his PCL, and they said that they depending on how this goes, they may have to go back in there and redo the whole entire thing, and that's why they're talking about him potentially not being available at any point of this year. So
Well,
you sort of have to, as a fan and as a fan of football, kind of start to think if they're talking about it, then we're probably not going to see a ton of
no,
Chris
you
or at
read
all.
like the headlines will say like a couple words in it that are like ominous.
Mm-hmm.
I was texting my boys. When you see the headline from whatever article, you read past it a little bit, even without reading the article, you're like, that dude's out for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like we were talking about with the college rules changing for eligibility. Like months ago, it was like, oh, this is happening, or this is up for vote or whatever. Bullshit. It wasn't
Yeah.
up for vote. It was
Right.
already, you guys already decided.
Right. When you
You
hear
know,
that, when you read the may miss remainder of season, that usually means
yeah.
he's going to miss the remainder of this season, which hasn't even started, by the way.
And we'll talk a little bit more about this shortly, but the Fauci thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So before Fauci pleads the fifth a million times, they were talking about his diary and all the entries like a week before he went and sat in front of Congress. And the whole time I'm kind of reading some of this stuff about him being there in the lies and his diary and all this other stuff. I'm like, dude, nothing's gonna happen to the dude. You can just tell. It's almost like we're gonna make him look bad, feel bad, and do this public display of him, and then he pleads the fifth or whatever. It looks like a show, and nothing happens to the guy. Potentially, I mean, they're gonna try, but again, like nobody's held accountable. But again, it's the press, the way they project things. You kind of, like I said with the injuries, it's like you just read that it's like, and then it'll come out like, oh, he's having surgery, he's out. It's like preparing you for the worst. Or they can't say it quite yet because it hasn't happened. But then when it happens, they're like, "Yep, we told you 2 weeks ago this
Yeah.
probably would happen."
People always ask me because they know how much I pay attention to sports when I'm at work, and they'll talk to me about something, and I always tell them, people that are reporting, if they're reporting something, it's not a nothing thing. Like
Oh yeah,
and you need to pay attention to that. And the way they project themselves when they tell the story, or the things that you read inside the story, will sort of tell you everything that's about to happen. So people just
yeah.
don't want to believe that kind of shit sometimes.
So leaning into Bay Area stuff, and you might know more about this. I've not really paid attention. I kind of hear some things, but the Giants and when is the trade deadline? Was it yesterday? When is the? Do you even know? Maybe
It's
I'll look it up
I
really
thought it
quick.
was always the 31st. That's what I thought. But I think it's no. I actually think it's, for some reason, I don't know if it gets extended to I think it's Monday at like 11 a.m. or something like that.
It's goes till 3 o'clock our time
Yeah. Yeah.
on Monday.
So,
But
mhm.
what do you? I mean, we haven't talked much Giants because man, they'll score 16 runs and they get shut out. I watched a little here and there, and when I watch them play defense, it's disgusting. It's so inconsistent still. Like it doesn't look like it's getting any better. So, but they have so many big contracts and whatnot. Like, what do you? Again, I haven't like analyzed this at all, but like off the top of your head, what do you think they
Yeah. I mean,
should do?
yeah, I think you're gonna see us lose a few guys no matter what. And then and we've talked a little bit about this, but quality left-handed pitching is always necessary for a playoff run. So I think the one guy for sure that's going to be gone is Robbie Ray. Although I really like Robbie Ray, wish we could keep him. The Matt Chapman thing, you always when you go into the playoffs and you got a guy that you can depend on to play third base and have a inconsistent bat, but a bat that's, when he's good, it's pretty good.
I
And
feel
then
like if the guy, it's weirdly right, trade deadline, you get moved. I feel like a Chapman, if he gets moved and go, and he'll hit like 20 home runs the
yeah,
last, you know,
yeah, it's like we need
40% of
him
the
to be
season.
more of a guy, but when the thing is, when you need a guy to be more of a guy, he becomes less of a guy. When you go to a place that has the pieces already, and then you add that
Right.
piece to it, now all of a sudden he's hitting seventh in a lineup that's got like three or four more big bats in front of him. people don't realize like where you hit in the order dictates what pitches you get in your at bat. Meaning, like, if he's hitting down the order on a really good team that doesn't need him to necessarily do those things, you're getting a ton more fastballs. You're getting a ton more good pitches to hit. So now you're not always hitting with two strikes. Now you're getting more counts where you're hitting in fastball counts where big league hitters no fastballs are coming. They're going to be more successful. The one guy that I wish we would extend and not trade, and I don't think it's going to happen, is Arias.
I
We've
know.
talked about, I really I love watching him play. They questioned if he could play second base. We've talked about that. He is completely fine at second base.
Well,
So
the
I
way
wish we.
he hits, it's
Mhm.
very. I mean, I'm saying it old school for me and you, but there's something about his approach. Like
Yeah,
he makes it looks easy,
yeah,
which
well,
is
he likes hitting with two strikes because he knows you can't strike him out. That's
right.
It's like, guys, and me being one of them, like, shit, I'm trying to avoid getting to two strikes
Stay
because I
alive
know
and
right, because I know what could happen. And once I get to two strikes, I only got one left and I'm out. Like, he takes like he'll take like a 2-1 fastball down the middle and just straight take it because he
yeah,
knows
and
he's
he'll
not
stand
afraid.
there like
Yep. Yep.
I don't, I'm
Yeah.
not swinging at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. It's really strange. The bullpen stuff with us is just like, we were watching a game right before I went on my trip. It was Wednesday, and we were up 3-0 or 4-0, and people were having lunch and feeling good, and I'm like, guys, we're in the sixth inning here. This is when it all unfolds, and sure as shit, like an inning and a half later, we're down 6-4. I'm like, this is who we are. This is what
Yeah,
this is what we've done, and this is who we are, and this is why you see us mixing and matching guys from the sixth inning on, is because we don't have consistent guys that can get outs late in games, and in the big leagues, that gets magnified a ton when you can't do it, and so that's the thing. I think what's going to happen, we're going to trade away some guys, probably three-ish guys, and I would completely just try to overhaul that bullpen as much as I can. And the importance of having a good closer in the big leagues is so important. We had the Rob Nens and the Brian
oh yeah,
Wilsons, and you can say what you want about those guys, but those guys got guys out when they needed to get guys out. And that's the thing we struggle with the most late in games when, it's money time. It's time to
Rod
get
Beck.
Rod Beck. He was another good one. I mean, seriously though, those guys
No,
were successful at what they did, and now you got us trying seven different guys at the closer role. And if you do that, all it means is a couple things. Number one, you don't have a good guy, and number
right.
two, you're just searching. They're just searching for anybody that can get outs late, and they haven't, and it hasn't happened.
I saw something. Someone was talking about Jung Hoo Lee.
Oh, I would hate to see him go too. I like him a
Well,
lot.
and it made the thing I read again. I say this stuff here on our live stream podcast. I should be citing it and writing it down when I read it. I forget where this stuff comes from, but I think his contract's up like next year.
Yeah, after the next year.
Yeah, so it's like trade him now. Someone takes that contract while it's hot, while he's playing well. Like the
Mhm.
value of him is so high. And if you're doing it a contract year, it might be like for what you can get was kind
Yeah,
of the argument.
the way they do it is how long are you in control by your organization? Meaning, like, if I still have 2 years left on my deal post this year, those are the guys you want to trade for. Now, those are the guys you usually can't trade for because then once these guys trade for you, you're essentially renting a player for 6 months or a year,
Right.
and then they can go wherever they want. And whoever you just traded for, and you got rid of prospects and stuff like that, you don't really get much for him. So unless you're going to win a championship in that current year, the longer they were talking about the closer from the Padres, Mason Miller,
Yeah.
who's because the Padres were, at one point were like 2 games back of the Dodgers, like pretty far into the season. And now they're like around 500 or a little below 500. And he's under control for 2 more years post this year. So if you can get your hands on the best closer in baseball and have him for 2 more years before you have to re-sign him into a larger deal, that's the kind of stuff they're looking for if they're going to give up some of their top prospects.
I think I saw something too. Like they basically said, yeah, he's out there, but
Hmm.
like the best people on your team throughout your whole system are also available. Like
Hmm.
you can't lock up and say, oh, you can't touch Josh Cruiser because
Right.
he's our number one prospect. It's like, nope, him
Yeah. And then
and these three other guys
they
for
were
or
just saying
whatever.
because now the Dodgers are going after Tarek Skubal, and if
Oh
I
my
mean
god.
there are, can you? I mean, but there. So then they did like a potential. That would show you like, okay, Dodgers get Skubal, and the Detroit Tigers get these four names, and
Right.
I'm thinking to myself, although it does help the Detroit Tigers. Don't get me wrong, because Skubal's very very good, Cy Young Award winner, but those four guys don't deteriorate how good the Dodgers are at any point of this year.
Oh,
And
right.
you get a top left-handed arm like that, and you give up some of your pieces, a couple prospects and a couple guys that maybe a bullpen guy and maybe a guy that plays, on a daily basis. Like it's they're willing to do that kind of deal to get what they have because they know at the end of this year they're going to be in it, whether it's the NLCS or later. So if you can get a top arm like that, they're willing to give up those players and not even blink an eye at it.
Right. Hey, let's move on. Let's go back to, you bring up, we haven't really ever talked about like controversial stuff. And I don't even know if the Fauci stuff is, it's not sports or whatever, but I want to tie in what he did last week to kind of your job, my job, um, life in general. I feel like for, during COVID, when all that stuff was going on, you couldn't talk about it. Uh, if you talked about it and somebody else believed the other side of what you were saying, they were right, you were wrong.
Hmm.
And then when you turned out to be right, they still, you know,
Then you can't
think
talk
you're
about it.
wrong
Then
or
then you can't talk about it, right? It's like it's on both ends. It's like
and so I feel like, for me being an educator, like as in education, you're not really supposed to talk about your views. Like I can't go into the classroom and tell my class, hey guys, I voted for this person, or hey, I'm a big, here's my religious beliefs, whatever. Now, I feel like I could say any of that stuff, but I can't like indoctrinate you. I
right.
can't tell you who to vote for. I can't tell you to become Christian or whatever,
Hmm.
pick your religion. Um, and I know people do that or have whatever, but I feel like this is something different. I mean, this is, I don't even, this became a political thing, but it's not very political. It's about yours and mine and everybody's like livelihoods, life. I still don't think it'd be something like I would talk to my students about. Um, but I feel like what he did, especially, I mean, over time, the whole thing, pleading the fifth and the Congress, deal last Wednesday, um, several times, over 100 times. Um, and there's kind of a show, but it's not the end of it, obviously. But it's like everyone was supposed to be silent for so long, and then this guy comes out and he won't say anything about what he did because he knows he's wrong. I mean,
Hmm.
if you're right about if you believe in all the shit you're saying, then why aren't you saying it? Oh, you know why you're not saying it? Because you're wrong.
Because you know you're wrong. Yeah, exactly.
And so I look at it like, going back to me being a teacher and a coach, like how much stuff I have to, I deal with the youth of the world, right, of my community, and I have to get it right. That's my job, right? But if I was wrong like him or gave bad advice to kids, um, I'd be out of a job, and I'd
Yeah,
probably go to jail.
you
And the
talk.
parents and everybody would go after me, the school and the community, and it'd be all over the papers. But this guy, shit, nothing happens to him.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like if as an educator, especially if you were to tell your beliefs to your students and try to get them to sway them in any way, if somebody goes and talks to the principal or anybody like that, you're not going to have a job for very long at all. That's just the way the world works. Like you said, like you're an educator and you're trying to get our youth ready to do whatever they're doing as an adult after high school and stuff like that. And if that was ever the case, and you were projecting what you thought to them, and they were to go talk to their parents who maybe didn't agree with you, this becomes a large issue. I always talked about this too. When I was in high school, you coached me in high school, and you could motherfuck us all you want, and we just dealt with it, right? Well, when I was even this is like even 8 years ago, 9 years ago, when I stopped coaching high school baseball, if we said one wrong thing and you swore at the wrong time and some kid took it the wrong way, you had to be very careful of what you did, because then all of a sudden we had it happen to us. We're a bunch of young guys that played pro ball and college baseball, and what we were doing was really, really good and it was correct. We had our AD. It happened many times. AD walks out to our practice, and here I know exactly what's going to happen. What did someone say, and what email got sent to what person, and he would sort of tell us, you guys got to calm it down. And the things that we were saying, if 20 years ago, even when I was in 25 years ago now, when I was in high school, it wouldn't even I wouldn't even have blinked an eye at it. Like you have to be really careful about like how much you condition your athletes now, because if you do something that it would have been normalized 25 years ago, well, now it's not normal anymore. If something happens to a kid, heat exhaustion and how many
Well,
breaks you need to give them and all that shit.
the other part of it too I mean, that to me is a huge like conversation that we've maybe touched on previously, or could really dive into, but like things like almost satirical, like in football, right? Like I'm coaching football. If I'm Fauci, I'm telling everybody that it's okay to take the field without a helmet,
Hmm.
right? I mean, it's okay to go out there, you'll be fine, and everybody believes it, right? And then people are getting hurt, and it's obvious that people are getting hurt without the helmet on, but you're supposed to just be like, that's okay, like, nope, don't wear the helmet, because we're gonna, and if you do, you're gonna get punished. And you're like, but everybody's getting hurt with no helmet, right? It's it's asinine to think that, like, me as a teacher, as a coach, you follow certain rules because of player safety, or whatever, and this guy's dealing with lives across the world. Millions of people have to do what he says, and it's wrong, and nothing happens to him. It goes back to what you're saying. You say, the F word to a kid one time, and you're probably losing your job.
Yeah, and
I
this
mean,
is
it's
it's
like,
crazy to me, because like this is only really this is only the beginning of it all, right? You're going to see a lot of stuff come out later on in our lives. Hopefully, we were able to see it, that the stuff that he was doing was not it wasn't super heroic, right? It was, and people are going to
well,
lose
and
their
then the
lives and stuff like
deflect,
that.
like, I some of his diary stuff says that California and New York made decisions for their people based on like his TV interviews. So it's just because you heard him say it
Yeah,
means you got to do it.
yeah.
And my thing, people don't know this, right? Because you had to kind of stay quiet. I pushed back at my old high school. I sent emails to the superintendent, principal, basically questioning what we were doing, like, especially not being in school. Like, is this good? Like, and being like pissed off stuff. Like, we should be
Hmm.
in school. This is ridiculous. All that stuff. And if I did get an answer, it was super vague and kind of like the company line. Well, these people say we got to do it, so everybody's marching.
Hmm.
I remember when the vaccine came out because you're told to take it, and supposedly there was a huge like line at the school because like teachers got it first. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
Teachers got it first. Man, I wasn't there. I didn't go. I didn't get vaccinated, so I'm one of those people. But I wasn't. That's like the first time I publicly said that, and I don't care. I told people back then. I'm like, what are you doing? I mean, if I'm when you're on lockdown, if somebody's walking down the street and they're puking and dying and whatever because this disease is so bad, like maybe you take something that will help, but like I'm going, what's whatever, you're getting sick, but it's not killing you. But then to have life change, my kid Matthew doesn't get a senior ball, dances. He doesn't get a graduation. He doesn't get all this stuff. He's depressed. Like fuck that guy. Like you messed it. Like and you can't even like admit or say sorry or we got this wrong, whatever. And not that that would help. I mean, there's other people that had family members die, vaccines showing, Fauci almost died. And that's another thing. He had like a heart attack, basically, inflammation of his heart after he got vaccinated, but didn't tell anybody.
Yeah. I remember, it's funny, my son, so he's 8 now. So the year he started preschool when he was 3, and it was a private deal. They only went a couple times a week. So it was the following year. So it must have been 2021 then. They were in school, and at the time, it was your choice at the time if you wanted to mandate masks. Now, because you're a private, it was like a private school, they could, they didn't have to conform to any of like the rules that California set. They did their own thing. And I remember this, like we got called into the office one day. My son was 3 at the time. Mind you, how is my son supposed to learn language and all these things?
Can't read your
I can't
body
read.
language mouth.
I can't lead that those kind of things. And my son, on a multiple times, as a 3-year-old, like we got pulled aside and said, Logan didn't keep his mask on today. And I'm thinking to myself, what in the? Why are you talking to me about this? Like, and my concern and my argument to that is, well, if that's the case, then how is my son learning anything here? He can't. He's supposed to learn language and all these things that you're trying to teach him, but the educators are wearing masks, and at the most important time at the time for him, he can't do that. So we switched preschools the next year, and when we did our like interview at the preschool, we brought that up, and they just sort of laughed, like, no, we are not like this. Like
Right.
we're here to
Well, that's the
help your
thing.
kid grow.
It was almost like a undercover speakeasy.
Yeah.
But when prohibition was happening, you
Hmm.
had to go find a bar, a place that was serving alcohol,
Right.
and
Hmm.
same thing. People went and found schools that were like, but and again, because it was frowned upon, and it's like, well, people could sit there and go, well, that's what they told us. Right, that's what they told you. You didn't
Hmm.
think for yourself.
Hmm.
And
That's what
I
we,
hate
we
that COVID basically made me follow politics more, and it's disgusting how screwed up those guys are, both sides of the aisle. And anyway, I mean, I look at it like you're at the bar and you're telling people that you could keep drinking and you're okay to drive. Hey, I'm the bartender. You don't own the place, but I, I'm telling you that you can drink all you want and go drive. And nobody, somebody goes, well, you can't do that. Well, yeah, you can. Shut your mouth, let them go. Take the chance, take the risk,
yeah.
and do that across. I mean, there's so many different things that you'd get fired for that in
Yeah,
your profession.
we had to essentially build outdoor bars because you couldn't be inside, right? That was the
Oh
thing.
yeah,
And in California, you could all sit at the same table, but if you wanted to drink, you had to have food with your drink. And I'm like, so if I give you a bag of chips, that makes anything any different?
Well, do you know that I didn't coach during COVID? I wasn't coaching, but what I heard from other teams that were coaching, plus high school football had a spring season. If you remember that, I don't know if you
Mhm.
knew that, but when you practiced, you had to practice in what they called pods,
Mhm.
only so many guys in a thing, and then you had to have like your own football because you couldn't touch a ball and pass it around because it had shit on it, and yet you were all allowed to be there, sort of around each other. But Mike, does any of that make sense? Right?
No,
Like, you
yeah.
did anybody think that like this? And no, tons of people are like, "This is stupid. I can't believe we're doing that." Well, we got to follow the rules, or we can't practice. And then you'd have a kid that was sick, had COVID or whatever, on the team that you played the week before, or
Mhm.
yeah, the week before, that ruled your team ineligible the next week. So you can't play because you played against the guy who was sick. It's not
Mhm.
even on your team. And in this particular instance, what I'm talking about, this kid that was on the team that was sick didn't even play in the game. So you didn't even play. He wasn't even a player. But you had to quarantine your team, not even the team that had the sick guy. You couldn't play because they had a guy that tested positive for COVID. The fuck what
Yeah,
are we
there was
doing?
no. Yeah, it's like when we were all, because it was all like, you had to be out in the open air, right? Because you can't be congregating around people indoors. And I remember I thought to myself when we were always talking about this as golfers, like, when are they going to open the fucking golf courses so we can
Oh,
actually
they
get?
opened that pretty early because I know
Well,
Amy
then, but yeah,
became super busy.
but then they made us. Me and my three buddies, we would all ride to the golf course together in the same car, and then you show up to the golf course, and we had to get four individual carts
Yep, I
because
remember that. Yep.
I couldn't be next to you, Brad. I couldn't be next to
What
you,
else
even
did they
though,
do? The golf course, remember?
oh, but the flag sticks and the
Couldn't
oh
pull the
my
flag
God,
stick,
you
and it
couldn't
had a
pull
fucking
it.
like floaty thing
Yes.
sticking at the bottom of it, so the ball, your putt would bounce off of that shit.
Yeah, all you got to do is hit the flag and the ball's in, because
Yeah,
that's fucking golf. My fucking handicap probably went down like 6 shots during
yeah.
COVID. But it's funny because then finally they got smart enough to, like, if I'm taking the risk, let me like sign something that says I don't give a fuck you're not liable because I'm riding next to you, Brad. Even though we just done a 45-minute ride together in my truck to the same golf course in my truck, and now you're making me not ride in the
There were
same
some
cart as.
courses that had this freaking plastic panel
Oh,
between you and
uh-huh.
your passenger.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
I don't know.
But if
I
you
got I got almost thrown out. I almost got thrown. They did that when they had at the casinos where they had like the partitions, and I was at the casino with my dad in Sparks, and I took my mask down too long. And at the time, they like hired extra security to like watch people. And the guy comes up to me and he says, "I'm in my own partition.
yeah, yeah.
If I see you take your mask off for however long it was, I don't remember, I'm going to kick you out." I'm like, what are you doing here, dude?
Yeah.
And so, like, there was like spying on you.
Well, I was in a grocery store. There's this older guy, and I was a big non-mask wearer.
Mhm.
Felt wasn't overly confident doing it because I wasn't sure if I wanted to take the heat that I'd probably get for some people. I remember getting a few like right on man from the other guys that weren't wearing masks, but everybody was masked. Like I was like
Yeah, you're getting the
less
side
than
eye.
1% guy. I was that guy.
Mhm.
And I remember going down the aisle, and this dude, he might have had some mental health. I don't know, but he's pushing his cart and he slumped over it. He's going super slow. And all I heard from him babbling was how I killed 600,000 people at the
Oh
time. The
yeah.
number was like 600,000.
Mhm.
And it was my fault. And I remember I turned around as he's going past slowly because I was contemplating my rebuttal.
Mhm.
And he kept mumbling, but he wasn't looking back. And I'm like, that guy, like, there's just something, the
Yeah.
brain rot that the media and whoever's like soaked that into that guy. I mean, I've got other stories. I don't need to go into them, especially
Yeah.
with colleagues at my school and other public things that happened to me. But again, it all like it proves that I was right, and that, you know, in hindsight, right? People can go, well, you should have done it back then. Fuck you. No,
Yeah.
I shouldn't.
Mhm.
Why? Because,
Yeah.
you know, I also should I also now lift weights for an extra hour for you? Does that make you better that I get stronger? Because everybody had to do things for everybody else. So you were told, you know, you got to do this for. No, I don't have to do. Am I working extra hours to pay your, what, you know, are we a fascist, like socialist company where we, or country where we, you know, yes, I want to help people. Hell, I run a golf tournament. I help people. I get people to, you know, I'm a helper.
Mhm.
But when you're saying dumb stuff like that, like, I'm doing nothing to you, you know. This store is open. We're all in the store together. Why don't you get pissed at the store for being open? Well, we need the store open. Yeah, so I'm going to go in it. But you need to wear your mask. No, I don't. I don't. Well, they told you have to. I remember when it first started, there's a different grocery store. They said something about the 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 cashier, the checker, said something about how it was like mandatory that you have to have a mask or whatever in the store. And I said, are you the manager? And she goes, no. And I'm like, I'm not listening to you then. Well, I'll get the manager then. You don't have to, because you're finishing the transaction here and I'm almost out of the store. But I go, I'm not listening to you. You're a check. I'm not listening to you. And it's like you had to like buck
Mhm.
things. And if you weren't strong enough to do that, you know, that's what they wanted. They wanted you all to cower down to the powers that be. And then, you know, besides the stuff online, you know, that just came out that like the CEO of YouTube said they were taking down videos that were anything to dissent, you know, the COVID stuff that had negative stuff about it. I mean, you couldn't even, like, in the description of videos put like COVID or vaccine.
Yeah.
It was like
They would just take it
instantly.
right. They would take it down.
So anyway, I didn't want to. I was trying to go more into, like, you know, sports related stuff, job related, you know,
Yeah.
things that you and I can't do in our lives, that the country and leaders, right? You're supposed to be a leader, and that's what makes me, you know, like government stuff or you know, uh, the decisions you make. And I get to question them even more now because what you're telling me wasn't right.
Yeah.
So
My
when you
my
tell me about
my favorite
taxes,
thing is I used to go. I'll make this really quick. I used to go for a run because I was looking for shit to do. Right. Everybody was
yeah,
buying weights online, blah blah, and I would go for a run every morning. And on my run, I wouldn't be wearing a mask because why the fuck would you want to wear a mask while you're running so you could choke the whole time you're doing it? And I'd be running. I could see in the distance, maybe like 300 yards away, somebody else was walking or running towards me, and they would notice that I wasn't wearing a mask.
I
And
had one of those too.
you would see the people just fucking go across the street as if running by me or walking by me was going to make you infected by the you know what I mean? Like, how?
I was in
Like,
South Lake Tahoe for something. I don't forget exactly, you know, what part of the pandemic thing was going on. Same thing. And it was like a dirty look and a, like, holding their breath.
mhm,
They're running
yeah,
too,
yeah,
coming the other way. And they're like, I'm like,
yeah.
oh, What do we
Yeah.
do? What,
Yeah.
and you
It's
had all those videos of guys like putting 3 masks on and then
oh yeah.
hitting like a vape and blowing it
Mhm.
out. And it's
Yeah.
all, and I'm like, how do you not look at that and go, these things aren't working? Oh, well, it's these other masks, these N
And
whatever
and
things
95 N95.
that are supposed to be the, you do those too. And it's just, it's
Yeah.
like, guys, it's airborne.
You
Like
still see you still see
if I
people.
fart and it
Yeah.
stinks like really bad and you smell it through your mask, that's what
Yeah. It's you still
breathing's
see
doing.
people now, and you know what I'm talking about. Like this blows my mind when you see people driving in the car by themselves and they're
Yeah,
wearing a mask. I'm like, what are we doing here?
their brain is broken, dude.
Yeah, your
They're
brain is
broken.
very broken.
Hey, so last one, more controversy. Flag football girls. It's one of those things we go back to. We talk about the media or whoever pitching, right? So the Olympics are coming, and the NFL is going to have NFL players in the Olympics, which I think is stupid. We talked about that
Mhm.
a while ago on the pod. So, of course, high schools lean into, they immediately fast track flag football to be a sport. So, especially in California, because it wasn't, because you're going to have the LA Olympics, you got to have all these kids playing flag football. You got to show, again, that's not, I get that. I think that should have happened, right? Um, but making it a fall sport and it's at the same time as high school boys football. I don't know if that was thought out because like the best, because I don't think there's a great time to add a sport in. Um, because let's say you're a girls volleyball player, which volleyball is during football, flag football for the girls, and you're like, man, I want to play flag football, but I'm also good at volleyball. What do I do? Okay. Or you put flag football in the spring and you got all these girls that are good at softball, any sport, but let's say softball's, their best sport. Now they want to play flag football, so they can't, and they got to choose. I get it. That's an issue, right? But now, I think football coaches, if you've been inside high school sports, football coaches, and people could argue this, but I think are the most flexible. We have so much stuff going on. But when the stadium needs to be used by this entity or this, a lot of time, the band or whatever, a lot of times, these entities don't ask for usage like all the time. So when they ask for it, you go, okay, we'll practice on the side field today or whatever it might be. We're going to have a rally today or this. And you're kind of like, well, okay, we'll do, we'll help you, we'll do stuff. We're going to be supportive of other school things and other school sports. But now the deal is like flag football wants to play, girls want to play Friday nights. I think you could make it work. But the question is how. There's different ways, right? But I think one of the things, to me, this is my unpopular take, is don't mess with Friday Night Lights. I mean, if you could do it like on Friday with the girls too, the guys have to play at 7:30. The guys are the main event. Period.
Mhm.
Period. And there's people that would argue against that. Well, the girls, they're up and coming. They need their shot too. I'm like, okay. So let the guys play like when the JV would play at 5, the varsity now. Okay. And look what happens to your crowd when that game's over. Ooh, did I just say something controversial?
Mhm.
Maybe. But people aren't going to a Friday night event to watch you guys. They're just not.
Oh yeah, they didn't come up with the term Friday Night Lights for girls flag football. I think that's important. Uh, it's what I grew up on. It's what you grew up on. I wasn't a football player. I played hoops and I played baseball. We were all at all those games, all because that's what what you did on Friday nights when you were in high school. You could watch the
Yeah.
varsity football game, and so I don't think that should ever change. And I don't know if I have the specific answer to fix it, but I'm in the realm of why don't fix something that's not broke.
Well, and
Like,
here's the thing, Josh. Flag football is different than regular football for obvious reasons, but I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the difference in their schedule. Boys, they're padded, whatever. They have so many contacts a year. You get 10 games plus your playoffs or whatever. You get a scrimmage, whatever. Girls get 2 games a week, and their season is basically like a high school baseball season. They get like 28 games. So you have multiple games a week. It's not just potentially Friday,
Mhm.
which is fine if you want to do some Friday. I get it. But here's the thing I wanted the other controversial take, and I heard this from an administrator years ago. So if you made it a spring sport instead of fall, the argument was now I've got to work more nights as an administrator. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me?
What?
Because they have to be at the event. You have to admit administrators
Mm-hmm.
at all those games or whatever. And so I don't know if the decision was made to do it during the fall because you're already at like Friday. Like that's what I'm thinking this is happening. We want to pack as much into the same nights so we don't have to work these other days. Again, that could be controversial. Somebody could tell me I'm totally wrong. But, you know, for you to, I think there's enough for you to sports to be. There's a lot of you signed up for that job as an administrator, vice principal, whatever you call them, your AD, whatever. You're basically stuck there all night, almost every day. So adding another sport and saying, now it's going to be more because of this other sports, there's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just do it. And so you could do it during the fall. That's fine. But I feel like the spring would be better. Here's why. Because spring, you could have your Friday night lights for the
Mm-hmm.
girls. And now you're not running into another, packing stuff in there. So I don't know. I know that a lot of schools are doing different things. I don't know what the answer is. I'm sure maybe somebody could comment or explain how they're doing it, and maybe they have a good answer and it works. I think at our place, whatever we decide will work. uh, I'm hoping that, like you said, you don't fix what's not broken, where there's a certain understanding that this stuff right here is locked in. You can't move that. You have to work around it, and maybe the lower levels get affected. And I don't know if that's a bad thing. If you had I know the freshmen play on Thursday, probably good to do. Maybe the JV boys play on Thursday too, a couple weeks. And so the girls have more of a highlight before the varsity game on. I don't know. I don't know the answer, but I
Yeah, I think
feel
there's.
like,
I don't think there is. I couldn't agree with you more. There's no real good answer. The only thing that matters is that you can't move the main event.
well, and I
You
feel
and you
like,
have to understand that.
I think that's what the next point I was getting to is I feel like some places are going to get told that there's going to be this flip. I think at a minimum, even though it's terrible, you flip, you have the varsity play like at 5, which is again horrible idea in my opinion. But I feel like this stuff's going to get jammed. I just know schools, you're going to get jammed. Like you're going to be told, kind of like the Fauci thing, this is how you have to do it. How strong are you as a coach? And again, you're going to have blowback for various reasons. Well, you're against girls or you're against girls. No, it has nothing to do with that. Like you're changing the structure of how the schedule goes. And it just can't be that easy. Like, oh, by the way, this week you're playing at 5 o'clock instead of 7, or whatever. Oh, I can't argue that back that that's a bad idea. Nope, you can't, because we've already made the decision. I mean, I feel like some of the stuff you're going to do that, you're going to force coaches to quit. Like the more you're telling me to do things, well, okay, you're obviously running the team. I get no decisions as the head coach of the program, I guess. Like bring me involved in the decisions. I could tell you, no, I don't like that and why. And if you keep telling me that's the way we're going to do it, no matter what, Okay. And again, that's not happening. I don't know enough of,
right.
what is going on, but there's just whispers out there of like the more, I think I've always said this too, the more you give up, the more people take. So if you're going to give up your Friday, even one game somewhere along there, it's like, oh, well, we did it this week. Now we'll play two the next week. Like,
Yeah.
whoa, we didn't talk about that. Well, we're going to do it anyway. It's because you opened Pandora's box and now you can't shove the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah. The
Right.
idea too is, whenever you add any sport, this is new for a lot of people.
Right.
You could put it in the spring, you could put it in the fall, you could put whatever you do. I'm just a firm believer that you can't switch the whole outcome of what was normal to everybody, what everybody's expecting all the time. And I think, and it doesn't matter what I think, but the main event for not just football, but for high school sports, like I said, people came and watched me play baseball, sure. But
Right. I
it
know where you're
wasn't
getting
like
at.
us. It wasn't like us going to a Friday night football game at Lee High School, because we were all there. And so if you were to ask the general population, 90% of us would say, no, don't move the Friday night football game somewhere other. I don't want to watch that game at 4 o'clock. I want to
Well,
watch it when it's dark
here's
outside.
here's the last piece to this too, and maybe people don't understand this, but in California, for sure, 100%, I'm right about this. Football gate, the money you make at a football game
Oh
goes
yeah.
100% to everybody else,
Hmm.
to every other program. Girls water
Sure.
polo, JV, girls soccer, boys golf.
Yeah,
There's a big,
all the sports that can't do that, that can't
yeah,
produce that gate.
and we have to take a bite of that shit sandwich as a football program,
Hmm.
and we've known that all these years we've coached, that the snack shack at most places doesn't go to football, it goes somewhere else.
Right.
Like your fundraising outside of your own event, basketball, when they have a basketball game and they have a snack shack, that all goes to basketball.
Hmm.
Like football, so now you're trying to infringe on some of our time and our, the bastion of the sport of like playing at 7:30, whatever that, and you think that's okay. Like there's a line, there's got to be a line somewhere where you
Right.
just go, nope.
Hmm.
Here's why: because we are supporting everybody else. Like, give
Hmm.
us something. We want to be helpful. We want the girls team to be a part of the boys team. It's football. We're calling it football. We want to be together, but like, don't mess with that.
Yeah, all that stuff has to be within reason, and people. That's the main point is people aren't reasonable, and if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Right? That's the deal. Um, and if you don't want to go by those rules, then you're wrong. I mean, there's just no other way around
Yeah,
it.
and we don't, like I said, I don't know, especially with our school, exactly what we're doing. I've just heard grumblings of different possibilities, and the time thing. It's kind of like this wink wink, nudge nudge, we're kind of going to do this, and we're going to, all of a sudden you just start creeping into things, and it's like, I'm curious if the pushback, like, no, you can't do that, like, oh well, why not? Because we're girls. Like, if that
Yeah,
starts
yeah.
happening, that's
God.
like, oh no, it's not. It's like, you're just, our time is our time and
Hmm.
whatever. So anyway, we got to wrap it up because we both have things we're doing today, and we're getting busy and we got to get out of here. So I appreciate your time as always, Cruz. I appreciate the viewers out there on the live stream and the listeners on Spotify, Apple, your favorite podcast software out there. Check us out again. I'm not sure when the next one will be. We're going to be busy, but we'll try and get more pods out through the fall. What's funny, Cruz, this fall, I think we should be able to do more, because last fall we're getting close to when I started deciding that we're going to move, and I had zero time on the weekends because I was trying to buy a house from August to November when we ended up moving. So We got to get some fall football stuff going, and obviously we'll have a lot to talk about once football gets really going here soon enough. So thanks again, Kreuz, and the listeners out there, viewers. Take care. Have a good one.